9 men you won't believe exist. You know that lesson we teach kids about how everyone is their own special, unique person? That's really true for the 10 people you're about to read about. Most of these men suffer from some form of medical condition that causes them to be the way that they are. But what they are some of the weirdest men in the world. The kind of people that, if you saw them walking down the street, you'd never be able to get the image out of your head. And for the man who hasn't had a bath in 60 years, you'd probably also never get that smell out of your nose. But he is just one of the many characters that make up this list. From the man nicknamed Tree Man, you'll see why, to the guy who weighed over 1,000 pounds, to the guy who turned himself blue. These are without a doubt 10 of the weirdest people out there. We've even included arguably the world's strongest man, just so you know just how much it takes to be able to be number 1. Do you think the WSM would be able to lift one of the world's heaviest men? There's only one way to find out. Just remember that the next time you're out and about and think that you must be the weirdest person in the world, you definitely are not. Number 10. Gary Turner. Gary must have just been goofing around like a typical 3-year-old when he realized that his skin was incredibly stretchy. So much so that it drew the attention of his friends and family. Turner was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which essentially means that he has weaker skin that is more flexible than that of an average person. Not quite as cool as Mr. Fantastic, but at least he'd always have a place in a carnival. Number 9. Amu Haji. When's the last time you took a shower or bath? Hopefully you're able to answer that question, and if not, hopefully you know what you're doing after you finish reading this list. Don't feel too bad if it's been a few days, because for Amu Haji, it's been 60 years since he last bathed. Amu stopped bathing after a traumatic incident from his youth. Apparently content to embrace the title of being one of the world's filthiest men, Amu has been known to smoke cigarettes that he makes out of animal feces. Something tells me he's probably not getting a date anytime soon. Number 8. Chandra Bahadur Dangi. When you think of what life would be like as a little person, your mind may go to Mini-Me. Yet Chandra Bahadur Dangi would even have to look up to him. Chandra is the world's shortest man, at a height of only 1 foot, 9½ inches. It's hard to imagine, but Chandra was living a normal life when a wood contractor noticed him in his village and decided it would be worth telling the local media. As you may have guessed, Chandra was diagnosed with primordial dwarfism. Let's hope he didn't have any aspirations to play basketball. Number 7. Patrick Duell. Do you know what is really comfortable after a long day at work? Relaxing on your bed. You know what might seem excessive? Not leaving your bed for 7 years, but then again, there are a lot of things that are excessive about Patrick Duell. I don't think anyone will argue when I say Patrick was at one point one of the heaviest men in the world, weighing in at an astonishing 1,023 pounds. As you know, being that heavy is not exactly the healthiest, which means that when Patrick needed to go to the hospital, the only way they could get him there was by cutting a hole through his house. Patrick has undergone gastric bypass surgery and had lost over 500 pounds. Sadly, Patrick regained the weight and was hospitalized back in December. He passed away on April 29th, with his weight reported to be over 900 pounds. He was 54. Number 6. Leonid Stagnik. While Chandra hopefully didn't have hopes for the NBA, maybe Leonid would have fared a bit better. At 8'53", Leonid was easily considered to be the world's tallest man. When he was only 14 years old, Leonid required brain surgery, and because of this, a tumor started developing on his pituitary gland. The result of this was more growth hormones being pumped into his body. Unfortunately, Leonid passed away in 2014 after suffering a brain hemorrhage. Number 5. Paul Carrison. When you think of people with blue skin, your mind might instantly go to Mystique, the Beast, or maybe even Papa Smurf. But sadly all Paul Carrison needs to do when he wants to see blue is look in the mirror. Paul turned his skin blue when he was trying to treat his dermatitis. Yikes. He thought it would be smart to use colloidal silver, which led to a health condition called Algeria developing. Sadly, Paul suffered a heart attack at the age of 62 and passed away. Number 4. Ralph Buchholz. Do you have a piercing? How did you feel about it beforehand? If you needed someone to talk to, perhaps look no further than Ralph Buchholz, who just happens to be the most pierced man in the entire world. So much so that he has over 100 piercings on his face and body. As you can imagine, it's quite the sight to see, meaning Ralph has been able to make a career out of making special guest appearances. I hope you aren't planning to see him in Dubai though, as the man was denied entry the last time he tried to enter the country. Given that he is also tattooed all over his body, you can imagine Ralph would have been quite the sight to see. Number 3. Yu Zhenhuan. When it comes to facial and body hair, every man's got his own battles to face. Some men may not be able to grow a beard to save their life, while others may constantly be whipping out the razor. Yet for Yu Zhenhuan it'd take a lot more than a razor to manage his intense body hair. The hairiest man in the world, Yu at one point had 96% of his entire body covered in hair. The condition allegedly started when he was only 2 years old. Yu has turned to various laser hair removal surgeries to help allow him to live a normal life. In an ideal world, Yu wants to be a rock star. Number 2. Brian Shaw. There are definitely some people on this list who, if you came up to them on the street, you may be able to tease and get away with it. Don't even try that with Brian Shaw though. In 2015, Brian took home his 3rd title for World's Strongest Man. It turns out being able to lift 975 pounds is enough to prove that you're the world's strongest man. It's also more than Game of Thrones star half-Thor Thor Bjornsson could lift, who was then defending one of his titles. Just imagine what Brian would have done to Oberyn Martell. Number 1. Deed Kaswara. No matter what Deed Kaswara does with his life, it's easy to see why he will never be able to escape the nickname of Tree Man. The warts that started to develop all over his body began after Deed scraped his knee. He was then diagnosed with Lewandowski-Lutz dysplasia. As you can imagine, he's gone through numerous surgeries to try and remove the warts in an attempt to live a normal life and pursue his passion of carpentry. Sadly though, Deed passed away back in February of 2016.
Thanks for watching, and see you in the next videos.